You're already in the parking lot. The meeting doesn't start for 22 minutes. You could go in, but that feels too early, even for you. So you just sit there, engine off, checking your phone, maybe running through what you're going to say, rehearsing the opening line, adjusting the version of yourself you're planning to walk in with, waiting for the acceptable window to finally walk through the door. And if that's you, you already know. You've been doing this your entire life, not because someone told you to, not because you're trying to impress anyone. Something in you just cannot be late, won't be late. The thought alone makes your chest tighten in a way that's honestly hard to explain to people who don't feel it. Here's what nobody talks about. Chronic early arrival isn't a personality quirk. It isn't just good manners dressed up in punctuality. According to psychology and neuroscience, it's a window straight into how your nervous system learned to survive. Let's start with what's actually happening in your brain when you're running on time, but your body is already screaming that you're late. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, is firing, and not gently. For people who chronically arrive early, lateness isn't just inconvenient, it registers as dangerous. The same neural circuitry that evolved to detect predators is activated by the thought of walking into a room after everyone else is already seated. That's not an exaggeration, that's neuroimaging data. But why? Why does your brain treat a 9 a.m. meeting like a survival scenario? This is where it gets interesting. Most chronic early arrivers share something in common that has nothing to do with clocks. They grew up in environments where unpredictability was the norm. Maybe the household was emotionally volatile. Maybe schedules shifted without warning. Maybe being caught off guard had consequences, not always dramatic ones, but enough. Enough that a young nervous system made a quiet executive decision. If I get there first, I can see everything coming. I can prepare. I can be ready. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, and unlike what the word suggests, it doesn't always look like anxiety. Sometimes it looks like extreme competence, like being the most prepared person in every room, like never missing a deadline, like showing up 20 minutes early to a casual dinner with friends. A lot of people like this don't even realize how much mental energy they're spending before they leave the house. They're checking the time while tying their shoes, picturing traffic that hasn't happened, estimating how long it will take to park, rehearsing the first 30 seconds after arrival. By the time they get somewhere early, it doesn't feel early to them. It feels like they barely avoided being late. Here's the reframe most people never get. You didn't develop this trait because you're neurotic. You developed it because, at some point, being ready protected you. Your brain learned that control over time meant control over outcomes. And it held on to that lesson long after the environment that taught it stopped existing. Now, before you start mentally diagnosing your entire childhood, let's be clear. Not every early arriver has a turbulent past. Some people arrive early simply because their dopamine system is wired toward anticipation rather than arrival. The getting there is the reward, not the being there. For these people, early arrival is less about fear and more about savoring. They like the quiet before the noise, the empty room before it fills, the moment before the moment. Research on temporal personality types, yes, that's a real field, suggests that people fall along a spectrum from time-urgent to time-relaxed. Chronically early people tend to score high on what psychologists call future orientation. They're mentally living slightly ahead of the present moment, always calculating, always preparing the next move. This isn't anxiety in the clinical sense. It's a cognitive style, a way of moving through time that feels not just natural, but necessary. And there's something else worth naming. Early arrivers are almost always highly conscientious individuals. Conscientiousness, one of the big 5 personality traits, is consistently linked to reliability, self-discipline, and goal-directed behavior. Studies show that highly conscientious people don't just arrive early to appointments. They're the ones who read the manual, who double-check the reservation, who have the backup plan for the backup plan. Their relationship with time is really a relationship with order. And order, for them, is not optional. It's oxygen. But here's the part that's a little uncomfortable to sit with. The same trait that makes you the most reliable person in anyone's life can quietly cost you something, because early arrival isn't just about time management. For a lot of people, it's about managing anxiety that never fully switched off. The chronic early arriver often struggles to be present once they arrive because their brain is already calculating what's next. They're in the room, but still scanning it, still monitoring for the thing that might go wrong, still preparing even when there's nothing left to prepare for. Sound familiar? There's a term in psychology called anticipatory anxiety. It's the experience of feeling anxious, not about what's happening, but about what might happen. And people who are chronically early are often running a low-level version of this, almost constantly. The early arrival is a coping mechanism. Get there first, reduce the variables, lower the threat level. It works, which is exactly why the brain keeps doing it. The exhausting part isn't the arriving early. It's the relentless mental labor that happens before, during, and after. The route calculated twice, the outfit chosen the night before, the email drafted and redrafted, the scenarios run through on a loop. And when everything goes smoothly, as it almost always does, there's no relief, just a quiet reset, and the whole process starting again for the next thing. The nervous system logs it as a success, but it doesn't rest. It just resets the clock and starts scanning for the next thing to prepare for. None of this makes you broken. Let's be very clear about that. But it is worth asking honestly whether the earliness is working for you or working on you. Here's what the research actually shows about people who tend to arrive early. They report higher levels of perceived control over their lives. They perform better under pressure because they've already mentally rehearsed the pressure. They experience less acute stress in the moment, precisely because they've displaced that stress into preparation. In many ways, the strategy works brilliantly. The nervous system found a solution, and the solution is genuinely effective. The nuance is this: a strategy that was built for one environment doesn't always translate cleanly into every environment that comes after. What protected you once can become a cage if you never stop to examine it. Showing up 40 minutes early to every social event, rechecking a packed bag 3 times, feeling genuine dread at the thought of cutting it close, that's the nervous system doing its job with outdated information. The goal isn't to become someone who arrives late. It's to give yourself permission to arrive just on time sometimes and survive it. To let the uncertainty of cutting it slightly close exist without triggering a full threat response. To trust that you have already proven thousands of times over that you can handle whatever comes. You probably already know you're going to be okay. Your brain just hasn't fully gotten the memo yet. So, the next time you find yourself in that parking lot, 20 minutes early, engine off, waiting for the acceptable window, maybe just notice it, not with judgment, just with curiosity. Ask yourself what you're actually preparing for, and whether, just this once, you could walk in a little early anyway. Because you've been ready. You've always been ready. That was never really the question. If this explained a part of yourself you've never fully understood, the videos on screen explore other patterns that might connect just as deeply. And if you keep seeing yourself in these videos, please subscribe. You're probably in the right place, and please know you matter.